Imagine standing on a ridge, watching one of the world's most formidable commanders boxed in from both sides. Julius Caesar and his exhausted legions are pinned between a desperate army barricaded inside a hilltop fortress and an even larger force thundering in from the horizon, hundreds of thousands strong. Every road is cut. Every escape is gone. By all logic, Caesar should be finished. But instead of fleeing, he does the unthinkable. He orders his men to build not one, but two massive rings of fortifications. One to trap the enemy inside, the other to hold back the overwhelming force racing toward him. What follows is a struggle so savage, so razor-thin, that Rome's fate hangs on the edge of a shovel, a spear, and Caesar's refusal to break. This is the impossible battle he was never meant to win, yet somehow did. This is the siege that reshaped the ancient world. This is Alesia. The year is 52 BCE. After 6 years of brutal war, Julius Caesar has brought much of Gaul, what we now call France, under Roman control. But the Gauls are a proud, fierce people, and they are far from broken. A new leader has risen, a young chieftain of the Arverni tribe named Vercingetorix. He's done the unthinkable. United the historically divided Gallic tribes into one massive force with a single goal: kick the Romans out of Gaul for good. Vercingetorix isn't just a charismatic warrior, he's a clever strategist. He knows he can't beat Caesar's disciplined legions in a straight-up fight. So instead, he wages a war of starvation, using a scorched earth policy to deny the Romans supplies. He burns Gallic towns and farms, forcing Caesar's army deeper into hostile land and stretching their supply lines to the breaking point. After Caesar suffers a rare and embarrassing defeat at the siege of Gergovia, Vercingetorix's fame explodes, and even more tribes flock to join him. Feeling the pressure, Caesar goes after the Gallic army. Vercingetorix decides to make his stand at Alesia, a powerful hill fortress. He believes its high plateau, steep slopes, and surrounding rivers make it the perfect spot to withstand a Roman siege. With his warriors inside, he dares Caesar to attack, confident that Alesia's natural defenses and a huge relief army will crush the Romans between a hammer and an anvil. So Caesar rolls up to Alesia and immediately sees the problem. A direct assault would be suicide. He decides to turn Vercingetorix's fortress into a prison. The plan is as simple as it is audacious: surround the entire city and starve the defenders into surrender. His legions, masters of military engineering, get to work building a massive line of fortifications, a circumvallation, an 11-mile ring to completely encircle Alesia. But Vercingetorix has an ace up his sleeve. Before the ring is complete, he sends his entire cavalry galloping through the gaps in the Roman lines. Their mission is vital: ride to every corner of Gaul, rally the tribes, and bring back a massive relief army to smash the Romans from the outside. Caesar learns about this plan from deserters and prisoners. Now the clock is ticking. He knows that in a few weeks, he won't be the one laying siege. He'll be the one besieged. His 50,000 to 60,000 legionaries will be trapped between the warriors inside Alesia and a relief force that could be in the hundreds of thousands. The situation looks completely unwinnable. Facing this disaster, Caesar makes a decision that shows off his legendary nerve and strategic genius. He's not abandoning the siege. He's doubling down. He orders his men to keep building the inner wall facing Alesia. And this isn't just any wall. It's an 11-mile-long network of death. It featured a wide trench, sometimes flooded with river water, a 12-foot-high rampart, and fortified towers. In front of it all was a horrifying field of traps. Deep pits with sharpened stakes nicknamed lilies, smaller pits with fire-hardened spikes, and iron hooks known as stimuli buried just under the ground, designed to maim any person or horse that stepped on them. It was a killing ground, engineered to hold back the Gauls with as few Roman soldiers as possible. Just as the inner wall is finished, the dreaded news arrives. The Gallic relief army is here. and it is gigantic. Ancient sources, including Caesar himself, claimed a force of over 250,000 men. Now, modern historians think those numbers might be exaggerated, but everyone agrees it was a colossal army that vastly outnumbered Caesar's legions. They set up camp on a nearby hill, and the full weight of Caesar's predicament becomes terrifyingly clear. The Roman army is now officially trapped. The sandwich is complete. On one side, a fortified city full of desperate warriors. On the other, one of the largest armies ever seen in Gaul, hungry for a Roman defeat. But Caesar was ready. While the relief army was still gathering, he had already started the second part of his frankly insane plan. He ordered his legions to build a second wall. This one, a contravallation, faced outwards. It was even longer than the first, nearly 14 miles, and was almost a mirror image of the inner defenses, complete with its own trenches, ramparts, towers, and deadly traps. Caesar had built a fortress in the middle of an open field, a military donut with his legions as the filling. He was now besieging an army while preparing to be besieged by another. This feat of engineering was completely unprecedented. In just a few weeks, his soldiers, working non-stop, had built over 25 miles of complex fortifications. Between the two walls, the Roman legions waited, ready to fight a war on two fronts. The Gauls don't wait long. The relief army launches a furious assault on the outer wall, while Vercingetorix attacks the inner wall in a coordinated strike. The night explodes with the shouts of men and the clang of steel as the Romans are hammered with stones and arrows. The fighting is brutal and desperate. The Romans are stretched thin, rushing reinforcements from one part of the line to another. Commanders like Mark Antony fight furiously to hold the line against overwhelming numbers. The Gauls' first attacks are thrown back. The fortifications do their job, slowing the Gallic charges and turning them into bloody slaughters. After a day of rest, the Gauls try again. Their scouts had found a weak point in the Roman outer wall to the north, where the hilly terrain made it impossible to build continuous fortifications. Under the command of Vercassivellaunus, Vercingetorix's cousin, 60,000 of the best Gallic warriors march in darkness to hit this vulnerable spot at dawn. At the same time, Vercingetorix unleashes an all-out assault on the inner wall, trying to pin the Romans down. This is the breaking point. The Roman lines at the weak spot start to buckle under the sheer force of the Gallic attack. Inside, Vercingetorix's men are gaining ground, pulling down the ramparts with hooks. The Romans are exhausted, outnumbered, and fighting for their lives. From his command post, Caesar watches the chaos threaten to swallow him. He rides along the lines, his famous scarlet cloak making him a beacon of hope for his men, shouting encouragement and directing his last reserves. When he sees the northern line is about to break, he makes his final, desperate gamble. Gathering his remaining troops, including his elite Germanic cavalry, he personally leads them out of the fortifications and circles around to slam into the rear of the 60,000 Gauls. The Gauls are completely shocked. Attacked from the front and now, impossibly from behind, their formation shatters into chaos. The Roman cavalry crashes into them, and the battle turns into a massacre. Seeing their relief army routed, the will of Vercingetorix's men finally breaks. They retreat back into Alesia, their last hope for victory gone. The next day, the gates of Alesia open. Vercingetorix tells his chieftains that to spare his people further slaughter, he will surrender himself to Caesar. The story of what happened next, passed down by historians, is pure drama. Vercingetorix, dressed in his finest armor, supposedly rides his warhorse out of the city alone. He circles Caesar's camp before riding up to the seated Roman general. There he dismounts, throws his weapons at Caesar's feet, and surrenders not just himself, but all of Gaul. He was taken prisoner, destined to be paraded through Rome in chains during Caesar's triumph years later, before being executed. The Battle of Alesia is an incredible story of leadership, guts, and engineering against impossible odds. If you enjoy exploring wild moments in military history like this one, make sure you're subscribed and let us know in the comments which battle we should break down next. With the fall of Alesia, the Gallic Wars were essentially over. Organized resistance to Roman rule was crushed, and while some minor uprisings continued, Gaul was now firmly on the path to becoming a Roman province. For Caesar, this was his crowning military achievement, a victory that cemented his legend and secured the loyalty of an unstoppable army. This power would eventually allow him to march on Rome itself, cross the Rubicon, and forever change the course of Western civilization, transforming the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. The epic siege of Alesia was more than just a battle. It was the moment a general became a legend, and a republic started its slow march toward empire.